What's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in again to another episode of the Man Listen Show. Before we get started, let's hear a few words from our sponsors. Please buy the new book by Arika Nicole Moore, Diabolical Tales of Woe. Diabolical Tales of Woe is a thrilling collection of short horror stories that leave you in an excited trepidation to see what will happen next. Prepare to face one horrific encounter after the next in this captivating novel. You can find this book on Amazon in the Kindle and paperback version. That is Diabolical Tales of Woe by Arika Nicole Moore.
I got to kick this thing off. Can I kick it off? 1, 2, 3, 4. Ladies and gentlemen, listen.
Conversate with Us Radio presents the Man Listen Show. We are the blackest radio show on the internet. We bring you our opinion on topics that affect the black community in an effort to enlighten, enrich, and empower every brother and sister that falls under the sound of our voice. We operate on a no-hating frequency, so be prepared for us to keep it 100% real and 100% black all the time. Please follow the show on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Man Listen Show. You can also find the show on SoundCloud, YouTube, iTunes, and Google Play. Please share the show and make sure you use the hashtag ManListen. I'm your host, Mark B. Let me go ahead and introduce the crew. Arika, what's up with you?
Hey, everybody.
Lab, what's up, bro?
What's going on?
Everything's good. And C, how you doing?
Hey, what's good?
All good, all good. On today's show, we're going to discuss Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder, the former WBC heavyweight champion. Deontay Wilder fought Tyson Fury, who was the lineal heavyweight champion and the Ring Magazine champion. This was a rematch from their first bout that ended in a controversial draw. Well, there was nothing controversial about this fight. Fury knocked down Wilder early in the fight, and he never seemed to recover. It appeared his equilibrium was off, and he never really got back on steady footing. Finally, Wilder's corner stopped the fight in the 7th round, giving Fury the win by TKO. There was a lot of talk about this fight and the aftermath, and we wanted to give our opinion on the matter, so to help us do that, we brought in our local boxing expert, Mr. Tristan Ellison. Tristan, what's up, man?
Hey, what's up, Marv, man? Thanks for having me on today.
Man, no problem, no problem. We appreciate you joining us, bro. So,
Yeah.
Tell us, man, how long have you been into boxing? Give us your story. When did you first start boxing?
Been into boxing since I was 7 years old. It was my first day in the gym. Actually, a quick funny story about it was I got into a fight at school, man. My first fight, real fight. Kid took my Cheetos out of my hand. We got into a scuffle. Kid got the best of me. As soon as I got home, Dad's first question was, "Did you win, son?" And I couldn't answer that question with a yes. So he took me to a boxing gym, man, actually on my 7th birthday, deep down in the streets of Rochester. First day, they threw me in there with a kid who was one of the best boxers out there. He kind of wiped me down, and it didn't detour me from boxing, man. It made me want to learn what he knew so I can come back and get with him. So that's just what I did. Came back, got with him, worked my way up through the national rankings for amateur boxing, and just developed a condition in my leg that stopped me from fighting at about age 17 was my last fight. So I boxed from 7 to 17 and then immediately jumped into coaching once my career took off.
Okay, all right, cool. So you've been in boxing dang near your whole life, basically.
Yeah, that's why I pretty much say my whole life, man.
Okay. Training now, you're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Tell us about what the work you're doing, man.
Okay, so right now, what I tell people is I run boxing programs from age 4 to 104. I got a few different programs. I got a youth program, an amateur boxing and professional boxing program where I'm training my amateur and pro fighters. And then I also have a senior program where I travel to different senior living facilities, in the DFW area doing a seated boxing program.
Okay, so a seated boxing program. So you got grandma and grandpa out there throwing them hands, huh?
Yeah, and you know what? That's probably the most fulfilling program that I got, man. When I'm working with people 70, 80. Man, my oldest was literally 104 years old. So I'm blessed and humbled by that experience the most.
That's cool, man. That's cool. So tell the people where they can find you. I know you're all over social media, and you're one of my favorite followers on Instagram because you're always posting videos with our seniors and with the youngins, and with the young champ that you got. Tristan got a bad boy that he's training right now. So tell them where people can find you and they can follow and get tips on boxing and follow the movement.
Yes, I'm on Instagram and Facebook at Team Tef Boxing. That's Team TEF for Tristan Ellison Fitness Boxing on both Instagram and Facebook.
Okay, all right. So Tristan, man, Wilder versus Fury. It was part two. The first fight ended in a draw. A lot of people said it should have ended in a draw. I mean, I was of the personal belief that Wilder won the fight, not because he outboxed Fury, but because I felt the second knockdown, there was a long count given by the ref, man. I just felt that Wilder did what he's supposed to do to knock that man out. But outside of the two knockdowns, Fury put on a boxing clinic. And I thought going into the second fight, I knew there would be some adjustments, but I didn't see what we saw happening. So let me hear from you, man. Going into the fight, what was your expectations of how the fight would play out?
Yeah. So definitely, I'm gonna go back to the first fight just to roll into the second one. I definitely felt like it was a close fight. Wilder definitely won, in my opinion. Fury definitely also put on a clinic, man, but those two knockdowns kind of set it apart when he got them 8-10 rounds. So I felt like he won that fight. With that being said, coming into the second fight, I had Fury winning. I wanted Wilder to win, honestly, just because he was the black man. I'm not too much of a fan of Wilder per se, but I do root for the black man. I try to stay neutral when it comes to boxing, but it's in my heart to root for my people when they fighting.
Now it's in the intro. This is the blackest radio show on the internet, so you ride along what we thinking about, bro. So yeah, you gotta root for the brother, man.
Most definitely,
yeah.
man.
Yeah,
so
go ahead.
I wanted him to win, but I honestly didn't think he was gonna win. If that is clear.
Yeah, I understand. For sentimental reasons, you know what I'm saying, emotional reasons, I think we all were going for Wilder because, the brother represents, man. He represents for the culture, for the community. Proud black man, proud of his people. It really meant a lot for a lot of us. And boxing has always historically done that. If you study boxing, it's always kind of straddled racial lines in terms of which race is superior, and there's always the major fights on Cinco de Mayo, and in September is another holiday for the Mexican fans, and it's about racial pride when it comes to boxing. So it's not out of the norm for you to say you're rooting for the black man, because most other people root for who they look like as well.
Exactly, man. But I definitely think Fury had some problems in the first fight. That's why I was so much thinking that Fury was going to take the second fight, man. He seemed a little bit of too much confidence. He had too much confidence going into the fight. He seen that he had something Wilder couldn't handle. He just took those knockdowns, and he had to make sure he didn't get knocked down to win this fight. So even on the decision, man, I felt like Fury was going to take the fight. But with that being said, man, I kept having that hope that Wilder was going to pull through with that big right hand that we all know he got. And it's not so much that he's a better boxer, but he's a winner at the end of the day. Every fight that he seems to be close with or losing, in my opinion, he was losing the Ortiz fight too, but he always comes away with that win, man. Winners win, losers lose. In my opinion, that's how I looked at that fight going, man. Once I seen him hurt, I said, oh man, he gonna come back with something. But going into the third round, or I guess the fourth round, when I seen him in the corner, he looked like he had nothing left in the tank when he was in between rounds 3 and 4 in the corner. He looked very confused, man, like he was beat. I can look in his eyes and see he wasn't all the way there in his corner. His corner was definitely confused and unprepared for what happened, man. If you pay attention, Fury had Stitch, man, one of the most famous cutmans in boxing history. He had him in his, and my man Wilder didn't have too much of a good cut, man. So when he got that cut in his ear and his eye, it's like they didn't even know what to do. I didn't see him applying no pressure to the ear. I didn't see him. They didn't even ice him down at first, man. They was just talking to him, and that's what disturbed me about the corner.
Yeah, I mean, thing that got me was the shot that initially put him down. The first shot. It seemed like to me like it was almost like a rabbit punch. Now I know, Fury's like 6'9". He came in at like 275. So when he threw the punch, Wilder was ducking at the time, and it seemed like it hit him on the ear, almost on the back of the head. Now I'm not gonna say it was an illegal punch per se, but it kind of blurred the line, and it felt like he never recovered from that. His equilibrium was thrown off the whole fight. And I mean, there was one time when he fell down, like they kind of crossed legs, and he fell. And it's nothing to see boxers fall, but like the way he fell, I was like, man, this dude is like dizzy, man. He just did not have his feet for the rest of the fight. And I'll be honest with you, it was kind of hard to watch, man, because I've been a big fan of his, and like you said, he was undefeated going into the fight, and to see him go out like that. I went out with my wife to watch it, and she was like, they need to stop this, and I was just like, he don't want him to stop it. He don't want him to stop it. If Tristan, you a fighter. Most fighters, they'd rather die in the ring than to say I quit. And Wilder showed that heart. He was thrown off once that knockdown happened, and he never seemed to really recover. But let me go ahead and bring in the crew real quick. I mean, what did y'all think? Arika, what did you think watching the fight?
I thought it was pretty brutal. I had hoped, of course, for Wilder to win, just not being a fan of either or really knowing too much about either boxer. I mean, the way he came in had me hyped for what he was about to do. And I was like, okay, well, stop for the culture.
Look. Like, hey, when he came in and dude was putting up the black power fist and everything, I looked at wifey and I said, I sure hope they win talking all this black power stuff, because it's going to be bad for us. Black History Month too? Ooh-wee, you better win talking all that. But go ahead, I'm sorry.
Man, I think everybody across the world had that same kind of vibe, because we like, okay, he coming in too hard. Like, this either going to be a wave that we're going to ride for a long time, or this is going to be very, very bad. And the memes that came immediately let us know how the public took that. But, I mean, I was rooting for him, but as far as enjoying a boxing match, I feel you on the same. Once he got that one hit, he just never seemed like he was really in it. And to me, I always worry about like how Muhammad Ali was, not quite right in his later years. I always worry about people getting permanent damage in boxing matches. So I feel like they should have called it once his ear started bleeding. I was like, I don't want to see this man getting beat up on anymore. This is no longer entertainment. Now I'm afraid for this man's safety. So I kind of checked out a little bit after that part.
Yeah,
that's just me.
I kind of think that it went a little bit too long, especially, the knockdown happened right towards the end of the third round. It's nothing for a fighter to take the next round to kind of get his legs back. But once it got into like round 5 or 6, and he just was flailing all around and just getting beat from pillar to post, I thought that maybe they should have stopped it too, because like you said, and Tristan backed me up on this, the long-term deterioration in health that you see with boxers, it comes typically from multiple blows to the head. So when you talk about Ali, you talk about other fighters that you see and you hear them slur their words, it's because of the brain damage that they've incurred. It's because they've boxed for too long and they've taken too many blows to the head. You would rather just get knocked clean out and then recover, as opposed to just having to drag out and getting punched repeatedly and repeatedly and repeatedly. Tristan, what do you think about that?
Oh man, that's exactly 100% right. It's the multiple shots. It don't matter if they hard blows or soft blows. When you're taking multiple blows to the head, that's just not good for the short term and definitely not for the long term. And I'll tell you what else, man. Even though he walked out of that ring and probably maybe feeling a little bit better right now, man, that's going to do some damage to him in the long run. I think it was right for them to stop the fight, and I most definitely, as a coach myself, I would have stopped it about round 5 or 6 as well. So they were a round or two late, but I understand why. Like you said, it's tough. It's real tough for a fighter to say I quit in the ring, and it's even tougher for a coach to make that decision. So I understand why they took a little bit longer, because they know their guy, and they know he can possibly pull out that knockout with that one big right hand, and that he would most likely rather die in the ring than actually call it quits, man. But they made the right decision at the end of the fight.
Right, and that's exactly what it was. I mean, he had that right hand, and see that right hand. He didn't put a lot of people out with that right hand, and I was just waiting to see, like, is he gonna get his footing back right so he can catch our boy, because once he had him hurt, man, Fury was just going in. He wasn't respecting his punching power, and he was bigger than Deontay, and he was just bullying him, and he had a perfect game plan for the fight. But
Yep.
it was hard to watch. See, I mean, what were your thoughts when you were watching it?
Kind of the same thing that you all talked about earlier. Wilder is like one of my favorite boxers, but technique-wise, I'm no expert, but he just really doesn't have a whole lot of boxing skills. So even though, Fury was outboxing him, I was hoping Wilder was going to come through with that right hand and just kind of not so much knock him down like the first fight, but maybe even knock him out and come back and win. But I think it might have been that second time he stumbled, and it was almost like he swung, and then like 30 seconds later, he fell down backwards, like almost like he was drunk. I knew that his equilibrium was off, and I just didn't think there was any coming back from that. And then I started seeing the blood and stuff coming from inside his ear, and so I was glad they stopped it. I think if they didn't stop it, he probably would have died in the ring.
And it's I don't know if any of y'all have ever had vertigo or have anything that messes with your equilibrium, but I've had vertigo, and I couldn't imagine not having your balance and being in a ring with somebody 6'9", 275 pounds coming to do you harm, and still trying to fight and still trying to pull out a win. So, I mean, all props to the Bronze Bomber. I'm still Team Bomb Squad, because that man showed a lot of heart. He didn't pull out the victory, but that took a lot of heart to keep fighting. And I know he said that he was contemplating firing his corner because they stopped the fight. Because he said, I would rather go out on my shield versus to quit. But I think they did a good job, because I still think he has a future in boxing. And I think that he's important to the culture. And we'll get into that a little bit later. But Lab, what'd you think when you watched the fight, man?
I hate to regurgitate everything you guys already said, but it was pretty much exactly the same thing. I thought it was probably a round too long, but with the entrance and everything like that, of course, the first thing that came to my mind was Apollo Creed, and I was thinking that that meme,
living in America,
right? But he was like, throw in the towel, right? We was telling Rocky, right. throw in the towel,
right?
And but yeah, he just didn't seem. I don't know. I couldn't place my finger on it, but I had never seen him any way like that. Like he couldn't stand up straight. It didn't seem like, even without being hit, like he was just wobbly. And I think, you said it pretty good, almost like he was drunk. I figured going into the fight, the only way Wilder was going to win was via knockout anyway. So once it got to the point where he was unsteady, I figured there was no way he was going to land that shot, and you might as well go ahead and call it quits. No need for him to continue to take that punishment, because I don't know, maybe it was just me, but if you look on some of them clinches, Fury was giving him a couple of dirty shots too, though, man.
Yeah,
like when they
for sure.
The clinches,
some rabbit punches.
He was locking his arm around his neck a lot too when they were in there in close, and on the breaks, getting a couple extra shots or whatever. But I think they did a good job stopping it. Definitely doesn't need to fire Mark Breland because of that, though.
What you think, Tristan, about the clinching and Fury leaning on his neck and some of the rabbit punches thrown while they was clenched? Was it legal? Was it borderline? What you think?
It was borderline, but he did exactly what he was supposed to do, man. Let's not forget, this is boxing. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, he's in a fight. If the ref, he does exactly what he is allowed to do by the ref. If the ref would have called it and taken away a point for it, then he would have stopped. But the ref, I teach my fighters, you get a warning first. So do what you got to do. Get that warning. You go in there, you're not there to be that man friend. You go in there, make it dirty, make it nasty. If you got to hit below the belt, if you got to hit behind the head, we're not trying to hurt nobody, but we are in the fight. So let that ref give you a warning. Now, after that warning, you gotta make the decision. Is that worth it to keep doing it? If you're gonna lose a point or not. But at the end of the day, what I also teach my fighters is don't put yourself in a position. So the only way that man can grab your head is if you allow him to. The only way he can hit you in the back of your head is if you allow him to, right? So the saying "protect yourself at all times" is very real. The first thing I do, or the first thing I teach my fighters to do, is protect the back of that head. That's your most vulnerable spot. So any position you at, if you're in a vulnerable position, you put your hands up and you protect the back of your head. So I think it definitely was borderline, but it's definitely ways to protect that as well.
Yeah, and a lot has been said about Deontay's boxing ability. He is a fighter that relies on that right hand, and everybody knows that.
Mm-hmm.
And going into the fight, I thought it would be somewhat similar to the first fight, and I was going with my emotions, and I said if he goes into the ninth round or into the championship rounds, 10, 11, 12, I think Wilder can catch him because it's hard to stay on point and be focused enough to avoid that right hand. But I said on the flip, if he can't catch him with it, it's going to be a boxing clinic. Now, in retrospect, I was definitely picking with my heart and not my head because Fury not only was the bigger man, he came in like 40 pounds heavier than Wilder, and he's much taller than Wilder, and he's the superior boxer. So, just based off those metrics alone, going with Wilder, it's not really a sound decision to make. But what did y'all think about how Black Twitter handled the defeat? I mean, there was a lot of memes, a lot of jokes that was put out about it. Was it fair, considering Deontay is so pro-black and so down for the people? Is it fair, some of the jokes that they were throwing out, and what do y'all think?
I don't think it's fair. Definitely not for Black America or our people. I don't think it's fair, but it comes with the game. You can expect it. Unfortunately, you can expect it from our people or any other people. That's just how the internet do. But me, myself, I didn't lose no respect for him at all for that fight. Like you said, he fought like a warrior. What I am losing respect for is the couple things that I'm hearing now about him wanting to fire his trainer.
Oh yeah, we're gonna get into a little bit further. So hold your train of thought. Okay, there's a couple things that came out. I'm kind of like, yeah. But yeah. Let me hear from the crew. What do y'all think about the clowning? Fair or foul?
I think it's fair. I mean, Black Twitter doesn't hold any punches. It is even across the board. Anybody can get it. And then, it's like when we were kids and before we had social media, we would just sit at the kitchen table and joan on each other. It's no love lost. You got to start your joke with no disrespect to mommy, but your mama stole, et cetera, et cetera. But anybody can get it.
I ain't gonna lie. I was that dude that when they was joning, I was real quiet because I was sensitive, and I and I wasn't quick with the comebacks because straight up Pisces because if they clowning and then you start laughing too hard, what's the first thing you gonna hear? I know you ain't talking.
Right? Oh, you think it's right? Okay.
And it's yeah. See what you think? Fair or foul?
I don't really know if it's fair, but I think, like they mentioned, it's just something that comes along with the territory. Black people are comedians. And the internet just gave them an even bigger platform. I think years ago, it probably started as a coping mechanism. I mean, we can make a joke out of anything. So it's going to happen. So, I mean, I don't know if you can let's just say it's fair, but if you're, in the public media, it's going to happen. When you're going to, he has to take that L.
Yeah, you got to take that L. You have to.
And I laughed at him.
Yeah, you got to take that L. I mean, I think my favorite one was by my frat brother. He said, they canceled Black History Month 6 days early with Wilder getting beat.
I saw that one. Yeah. And then the one comparing him to Martin.
Oh, yeah, Martin when he fought Tommy. Yeah, that was funny too. Lab, what you think, bro?
Where he's like, bro, go get
That's
the
my
pistol.
favorite Martin episode ever. That's my favorite Martin episode ever, for real.
Yeah. But Lab, what you think? Fair or foul, man?
I think it just comes with the territory. I never really thought about it as fair or foul. Just it comes with the territory, like everybody said. I think a lot of it is just entertainment to a lot of people, and so they think they're continuing in or adding on to the entertainment factor.
Yeah,
boxing is one of those sports where everybody's gonna take an L at some point, man.
Yeah,
everybody's gonna take an L. So.
Right. Unless you Money May was undefeated.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
very rare.
But I feel you. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So I don't think anybody is, was genuinely, showing disrespect towards him or anything. It's just in the heat of the moment, or trying to lighten the moment up, because a lot of people were disappointed, and I think they were just trying to lighten the mood up a little bit, because I know sometimes when my fighter that I want to win doesn't win it, or even any sports team, it like ruins my whole night. My guy who I'm rooting for loses, man, it just ruins my night. Yeah. And so, I think a lot of people are just trying to, bring some brevity to it.
Yeah, I think like Tristan said, though, you put it into perspective. Wilder is still 42-1-1. That means out of 44 fights, he's only lost once, and the one draw that he had is somewhat controversial, like we talked about earlier. So,
and he what was it? 10? He had 10 defenses. That's a lot of title defenses, man. For real.
He was on the cusp of breaking Ali's record or tying his record for a number of title defenses. And if you think about it, Ali lost several times, and we still consider him the greatest. We still do. So, I mean, there's no shame. I mean, the shame comes in when you cower away from the challenge. There's no shame in getting beat, because like my mama said when I was younger, there's always somebody who got your number. There's always somebody who got your number. And most people who stepped into the ring, or you stepped into the streets and somebody call you out, it may happen sooner, it may happen later, but it's going to happen. So, yeah, man. But one thing that really rubbed me the wrong way, like I said, I'm a big boxing fan, and I decided, because this fight was so big, my queen and I, we wanted to have a little date night, so we found a place that was showing the fight and went out and ate some bar food and watched the fight, and I saw people rooting for Fury, and it perplexed me, because Deontay is the American fighter, and you would think that us living in the United States, that everybody would be rooting for the American fighter versus the foreign fighter. Now, I don't have any problems with Fury. I respect his boxing acumen. I think he's a good guy. But I'm riding with the black man. And I'm riding with the black man that's from the United States, for sure, ADOS. But I saw a lot of people rooting for Fury, and he's British. And I was looking at those people, and I said, you know what, these are probably the same type of people who have all sorts of vitriol towards Colin Kaepernick and his stance on the national anthem, and whether it's patriotic or not. But when it comes down to it, you're not rooting for the USA at all times. I mean, the hypocrisy knows no bounds. So what do y'all think about that?
I think when it comes to Black Americans, all those rules don't apply. It was the same thing with the Mayweather-McGregor fight. I saw there was a lot of debates on social media about, McGregor running around with, I guess what is the Irish flag? I don't really pay much attention to him.
Yeah, it's Irish.
Yeah, he's running around with the Irish flag. and he had more people going for him in the U.S. than Mayweather. And just like, I mean, I don't even jump in the argument anymore. Like I just said, that rule doesn't apply to us. When they think of patriotism, they don't think of us at all. It's only them.
Yep.
That's real right there. See, when you think about it, when you say the word American, American by default here typically means white. So, you know, when they talk about patriotism and American, they're talking about white people, not necessarily American people. They're really talking about white people.
And then the problem with that is that they get so adamant about our support for the flag, and our patriotism is always in question, and every single thing that we do is kind of under a microscope as far as whether or not we're for or against this country. But nothing that they do is taken into consideration as far as whether or not they support the people that actually live in this country or come from this country, because basically, you know, white is right. So I think that is, as long as we're on whatever side they're on, then, you know, everything we do is cool. And so once they decide that they're on a particular team, be it Fury or McGregor or whoever, then we just got to jump on that team. They don't put too much thought into what they got to do because they just so used to being right. It's that privilege that we just don't have. We actually have to make decisions day to day that make sense for us and our people.
True. So there's an automatic rematch clause, and news has said that Deontay plans on exercising this rematch clause. Me personally, I don't want to see him fight Fury again. I think in order for Deontay to really change how this fight is going to go, he's going to have to really, really get to the basics, learn how to box, learn how to throw an effective jab, get some footwork, a lot of stuff, man, that most cats are learning from guys like Tristan at a young age. Deontay's going to have to get that because Fury ain't no punk. Fury's beat a lot of top boxers. And I really just don't want to see Wilder get back in there with him. I think he can fight some tune-up fights. I think there's some good fights that he can have with like Andy Ruiz or Anthony Joshua. I'm just not excited about seeing him get back in there with Fury because the thing is, once you get beat once and that bully aura, it's like when Tyson lost to Buster Douglas. Once he lost to Buster Douglas, cats was all up on him. They wasn't scared. And I just don't want to see Wilder go out like that. But Tristan, what do you think? You're the expert, man. What do you want to see with Wilder in the future with his career?
Unfortunately, I think he has to take that rematch, especially for who and what he stands for, and knowing, you know, him and his pride. Boxing is a very prideful sport. Unfortunately, I think he's gonna take the rematch, and if I was him, I would take the rematch too, just as a fighter, man, as a warrior. But as far as the outcome, I see the outcome being somewhat the same. Fury is confident, man. He feels like he has Wilder's number. He feel like he figured out how to beat him, and that's a dangerous situation, man. When a fighter don't have respect for the other fighter in the ring. Now that can go either way, of course, because if he's not respecting Wilder can easily knock him out with that one right hand. But Fury's figured that out. That's all he got to beat him. And he took away, strategically, that right hand to Wilder. It wasn't like, it happened by mistake. That was the plan, I guarantee, was to take away Wilder's one big punch, that right hand. And he executed that plan. So the fight moving forward, I see it going the same way, honestly. But I will be rooting for my man Wilder. I'll still be rooting for him. Yep, till this day, I'm gonna ride with him on that end when he goes against Fury. But like you said, if he don't change a lot of the basics, backing up, crossing his feet, pulling out with his chin up, all that type of stuff is basics, man. And he's been getting by with it because he got that powerful right hand, and people been scared of that right hand. So he's been getting by with it, but I don't see that flying no more, honestly.
Yeah. Man, what did y'all think about, let's lighten up a little bit. What did y'all think about, we talked about the intro and them walking in. First of all, Fury about put me to sleep with whatever song he was playing and that slow entrance he had. But when Deontay came in looking like Black Megatron with that outfit, what did y'all think about that?
I jumped up and started like swinging in the air like I was boxing. I was hyped.
You was looking like Fred Sanford when he was like, put him up.
It had me hyped.
Yeah. Larry, what'd you think about that uni that he walked in with?
I ain't gonna lie, I thought it was a cold uni, boy. That mug was slick. I liked it. But, I mean, I guess I didn't realize it weighed 50 pounds, man. You know, that's the reason he lost, probably.
Man, he said that the uniform, it weighed 40 pounds. And the walk from the locker room to the ring, wearing that uniform of 40 pounds, it drained his legs. Now, if you look at Deontay, now I don't want no smoke with Deontay. I'm a big fan of his, but I don't want no smoke with the dude, for real.
You made that point right.
Yeah, I don't want no smoke with Deontay. I'm on the fan club, man. But he didn't skip leg day, man, because his legs, man, he need to work on them, bro. So he need to work on them boxing skill and them legs. So with them little bitty legs he got, man, and carrying that 40 pounds, it was tough.
Very tough. But no, the outfit was sick. Boy, that mug was nice.
Yeah.
But do y'all think that's the real reason, Tristan? You think that's the real reason? I mean, I got like weighted vests that weigh 40 pounds, and I'm hitting the track. So I'm just like, I know he's strong.
He a world-class fighter.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
I didn't think so.
And that's the part that I'm kind of losing some respect about. If that's the truth, I still haven't heard him say that. I'm just seeing quotes of it. If he said that, that's a little that's taking me the wrong way. There's just no way that a 220, 30-pound man walked from the locker room to the ring with 40 pounds on him and felt like he couldn't go anymore. You train so hard, my brother. That is a lame excuse in my book. That's like a football player going out there saying, man, I had all these pads on, 35, 40 pounds, helmet, shoulder pads, and everything on. I just couldn't perform. No, you perform. And even if that was the case, that don't even come out your mouth, my brother. You take that L on the chin, especially with how you lost. You just got to take that one on the chin. You're a warrior, and you know you're a warrior. Just take it on the chin. Don't use no excuses like that.
Yeah. Well, I think he's gonna come back, man. I mean, like I said, I don't want to see him fight Fury again, man. I just don't. I don't want to see it, man. I want him to be prosperous. I think that he has the heart and the passion for Black America, for our people, and I think he could be a shining example for our people. And I think that there's other fights that he can make. And like Arika said, when we watched the fight, and it's very hard watching him being beat around the ring, and his long-term health is what's most important to me, because I feel like he could be an ambassador for Black America, an ambassador for our young men, much like Tristan. Tristan, he's talking about the work that he's doing with the elderly, but what I'm most proud of is the work that Tristan is doing with our youth. He is giving them discipline, showing them how to protect themselves, how to have self-confidence, how to defend themselves, and it's something that I think more of our young men need. They need to know how to defend themselves. They need to know how to take a L. That's the problem with a lot of the violence, that we talked about in the show, in the community. A lot of our young men, they're afraid to take that L. And the reality, when we grew up, you knew. You win some, you lose some. What did Cube's pop say to him on Friday?
But you live to fight
to fight another day. You win some, you lose some. But you live to fight another day. And Tristan, I just got to tell you, man, I'm so proud of you, man, as an entrepreneur, as somebody who is working wonders with our youth. I'm proud of you, man, and I salute you, and I'm glad that you came on the show, my brother.
Thanks, man. That means a lot coming from you, my brother. I really appreciate those words, man, and I'm humbled by them. Definitely means a lot for y'all to have me on the show, man. It's one of my favorite, not one of my favorite, this is my favorite podcast.
Okay, flattery will get you everywhere, my brother. The flattery will get you everywhere, but
right, don't threaten us with compliments.
Right.
Seriously, man, this is it for me. This is what I tune into.
We appreciate it, man. Well, with that being said, we'll go ahead and wrap up the show. Make sure that you tune in to the show on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, Google Play, basically wherever you can find your podcast. You can also find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Make sure you share the show and make sure you use the hashtag #ManListen. We'll holler at you next time. Peace.
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 Peace in a minute.
To this day.